I get lots of people telling me that they're voice actors. So when I get to meet somebody in a bar, quite by chance, a random chance encounter, you might say, and they tell me they're also a voice actor, I need to know more. And I did, many, many years ago. So today, the woman whose voice you've heard in countless animations is talking to me on Tanya Talks. I am talking to the fabulous Kate Harbour, talking all things animation and characters. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right, Chuck. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I've just managed to swig a couple of paracetamol down the old neck, as you do on a Tuesday. It says Tuesday. Is it a Tuesday?
It?
I don't know what day it is. Doesn't matter.
I think
anyway.
it is, yes.
So, Kate, I've just been doing some promos for this show, and in my promo, I mentioned how we met. Now, I don't know about you, but I bet you loads of people tell you that they're a voiceover, don't they?
Yeah.
And normally when people say that to experienced professional voiceovers like myself and Kate, we kind of go, really? Mm-hmm. But so when I met Kate in a bar one afternoon, don't ask why we were there in the middle of afternoon. And the owner said, Tanya, you're a voice actor. This is Kate. She just moved to the area. She's also a voiceover. And we kind of looked at each other. Larynx is at dawn. And then we got on, so we became friends. And here she is today on my podcast, a video podcast.
Hello.
So, Kate, you have been making voices, most in the animation sector. People know you as an animation voice, right? And an animation coach now. And we'll talk about your workshops later. Please don't let me forget that. I'm sure I shan't. So,
I'm sure I won't let you.
No, good. Don't let me. So, tell me, you started on the stage. I know this, and you were a dancer, weren't you, as well?
Yeah.
But you got your big break with playing Wendy and various other characters on Bob the Builder.
Yes.
How did that happen for you?
Well, basically, I'd already worked with this wonderful woman, Jackie Cockle, on Okie Doke, which was she was at Cosgrove Hall at the time. And so I'd done a lot of little characters on that, lots of different characters. And it just so happened, it was just good timing, basically. It was fate and good luck, really, that I got an audition for Bob the Builder because Emma Chambers had just landed the role in Notting Hill. And she couldn't do it. She was going to play Wendy. And so because I had been working with Jackie, she thought of me immediately to say, right, come on, let's see if we can get you, to audition for this and see how you go. So I did an audition, did several different takes of different things. We did Wendy, but we also did Dizzy and the cement mixer and Pilcher the cat. And it seemed that it worked for them. I'd already got a fantastic rapport with Jackie, and I felt very at home in the audition, I think, which
nice.
helped. So it felt very free, and I just was able to just step right in to the characters and really enjoy it. And I got it from there.
Okay, and if you excuse the expression, do you know how many people you beat off for this competition or to get this part?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
And I've always wanted, did they ask you to make Wendy Northern, or was that a choice that you made?
Now, this is the thing. I actually can't remember. I can't remember where it came from, why that was chosen, whether it was chosen before by Emma and they liked that. I think that's what it was. And they liked that. And then they said, so can you do a sort of generic Northern? And I said, well, yes. I mean, it's not going to be precise, but I mean, I'll do it. It was a sort of sound alike, because when people are used to a sound, and they're used to a voice that's done it, and the animators are used to it as well, it's a bit jarring sometimes to hear something completely different. So I kind of went in with soft feet, as it were. And so it all sort of developed from there, really.
Okay. Yeah. And looking back at that time, do you wish that you had are you glad that you were Wendy, or do you wish that you had got the part in Notting Hill?
Oh, no, quite honestly. No, I'm much more comfortable behind the microphone, to be honest.
Too. And so there you were. And obviously in this case, and don't take this the wrong way, you were lucky in the fact you knew Jackie, but you were absolutely right because you had the talent. So it would have been all very well had you known Jackie and she thought you were average, you would not probably have been given that chance. So you being good and knowing Jackie was like an ideal combination to make that happen, really, for you, wasn't it?
Well, yes, I guess so. I was known for being versatile, and I think that stuck. That was right from the beginning, right from the off, really, because I could offer up different voices. Of course, they want the one person to play 5 characters, and if you can, at that time, it was fantastic ability to have, and it still is. So, and that's ever increasing. So to be versatile and flexible, I think it gives you many more chances.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I agree with you. I think the thing is, it's interesting because obviously I'm versatile as well, and I understand, like yourself, what versatility really means. And it is interesting when I get people sending me show reels to evaluate for them, and they say that they're versatile, and it's basically they've either got one or two voices saying different words all the way
mm,
through. And of course, that's not what really being versatile, particularly in the animation world. You've got to really understand how your voice moves about inside your head, throat, everywhere, through your eyes, everything you do. So, you know, that's really interesting. And for me, with making characters in an animation is a fantastic process. So let's just ask you, because I know you do create characters all the time. Um, you know, for you, tell the listeners, watchers, what you do in your process. What's your first thing? The side?
right. Well, yeah, it really does actually depend on all the material that's given to you, and how much is given to you. For me, I love and I prefer to have a visual because I'm very I learn visually. I process things that way, I guess. Um, so if I'm given any drawings or anything, any bit of information, I just hook on to that. Uh, for me, there are just many ways of creating the characters, uh, but it's for me it's a physical thing in a way, and I think that came from my love of, The Muppet Show, really, um, because they were really visual, completely in your face, and as a dancer, as you know, I'm quite a physical being, and I think just the 2 of those in that combination, in my process, it really feels like I'm putting their shoes on, and I'm stepping into their skin, if you see what I mean, and taking them for a walk,
Yeah,
and how would they walk? Um it's a case of, initially when you're given the audition, I suppose, is, you know, looking at all the clues that they give you, if anything. Um, Looking at the text as well. Whichever way it is, you've just got to assemble all of those clues, think the thoughts and offer it up.
yeah.
Um, and as long as it feel that way, I think it feels more genuine and truthful. Because you have assembled it all together in yourself, and you know it's a true account for you, and it comes from a place of truth then. So it's not really about the vocal tones and whatever accents you're putting on. It's nothing to do with that, and it's in fact not even about the script. It's it's embodying that character so fully that you're completely free. It's to give yourself the freedom of expression and knowing where you are in the world of that character. So, yes.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I always say to people, I start with the shoes, and even the standing. It's true. Everything you've just said, I 100% totally do and agree with, and encourage young actors or actors to do. They don't quite
Yep.
understand that you have to become the character, and that if that character is a monkey, you're a monkey, and you've got to try and imagine what
Yes.
that could, and being physical. Well, I mean, all voice acting is physical, and that's something when you're doing your workshops, do you find that sometimes people are really shocked, especially if they've not had any voice training at all, or certainly voice training that is teaching them to be physical, that they're shocked how physical you have to be and how they have to break that wall of embarrassment?
Oh, yes. I mean, the thing is, actually, what I've found in the workshops my workshops that I designed, um, I go from a place of physicality with them, and I do lots of different physical games, as it were, to lead out from them a physical expression of the overriding physical expression of that character.
Yeah.
So it comes from a physical place, but it's also about your thoughts. It's about how you're thinking it and embodying it. It's not that you are just moving like a monkey or moving that. It's not about that. It's about really seeing it in your mind's eye, really
Mm.
feeling it. So we do a lot of physical exercises, and actually I find that people really dig it and they love it.
Oh yeah.
It's I mean, in Manchester I had some fully grown, very quite mature, established actors
Ah,
walking around, and it's quite Lecoq really. It's sort of, led out from them and allowing them to play with different ways and means that I do that. And then once that's been established and they've got over their physical, it is interesting, isn't it? That some people can't quite connect
no.
with
Mm.
their physical body embodiment of themselves. It's like their soul is somewhere else.
Yeah.
You need to actually really embody it all, and not be scared. You see, but that's actually the joy, because you can, if as long as you let the fear go, you're there.
Well, that book, I mean, should have written it really, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because you know me
Didn't you?
well, and that's me all over. I think the thing is, it's interesting because you can hear embarrassment in people's voices.
Oh,
I don't even need to see them. I know exactly what they're doing. I know how they're feeling. And
yeah.
working with people who are used to working to screen, they can be the most challenging to teach any type of voice acting to, because they're so
Yes.
used to do all that micro movement. And, when we
Oh,
get them behind a
yes.
mic and we go, "Rah," it's all this massive, huge faces when you look like a lunatic.
Mm,
Even, it's something that a lot of people just can't get their head around. And,
yeah.
and of course, it goes to the extreme when you're doing animation characters. I mean,
Yes.
you do Shaun the Sheep, don't you? What character are you in Shaun the
Yes.
Sheep, apart from various sheep?
Well, I'm Timmy's mum, the one with the
Timmy's mum.
rollers.
Yep, yep. Okay.
Yes, and also Lexi the Afghan hound,
Stop,
Stash the
stop,
squirrel.
stop, stop, stop. Now, we've talked about physicality. When you're doing, see, in my mind, when I see Afghan hounds, I always think of models flicking their hair. So
Yeah,
what did you, I've got to hear, I don't know this voice.
that's
You
actually
don't have to
true.
perform. Is that what you did?
Yeah. Well, she's very haughty. She's really up herself. Yeah, it's
That's
really
exactly how I
funny.
would.
And it's only growls and things. This is the thing, though. You see, it sounds so funny to some people, because you're just thinking, oh, for goodness sake, you're intellectualizing a growl or a bar. But actually, if you don't do it, that's from a place of complete and utter truth. You're kind of just, you know you're phoning it in, really. I
Yes,
mean, the
yes,
thing is, um, I think you can hear confidence, can't you,
you
on a
can.
mic? And I think that why I wanted to do those workshops really was really because I wanted to enable people to have to gain flexibility, so that they've got their own treasure box
Yep.
there that they can dip into anytime, so that they are then free to be completely confident with their choice, because ultimately it's an acting choice. It's your choice. And of course then it's the marriage between you and the director, and how wonderful that is. That's the bit I love, um, is working with the director to be steered correctly in which way. Because the thing is, one, if you are flexible, you can go anywhere with age range, sound quality, all of it. But it's not just vocal theatrics. It's coming from a real place. So
Yeah.
that work and that process is worth doing all the time, and I'm always doing it, always challenging myself, listening.
Oh,
Um,
yes, you've got to listen to yourself. I mean, when you're working with directors, obviously, I think in animation, particularly, you will get some great directors.
yes,
And sometimes they push you to even try something that you wouldn't have even. I mean, you're like me, you've
yeah,
probably got a huge lexicon of voices and stars, and oh, that's this. But you might get somebody throw a wild idea that you wouldn't have thought of. Oh, I never thought of that. Let's give it a try.
yeah.
And you can't get embarrassed because you feel like a fool. You've just got to get past it, haven't you?
Well, the thing is, one doesn't feel. I don't feel the embarrassment, because
No, I don't.
I'm kind of want to get right into the meat and potatoes of it. What is that character doing? Where are they? That's the whole sort of aspect of it, it could go anywhere. So, sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no, so basically we're talking about, the fact that directors can sometimes get you to try a different style or a different voice, or perhaps suggest things you even hadn't thought of, even with probably, you're like me, your brain is busting with ideas and things that you think you can bring to the part. But sometimes, and being directed is lovely. I love being directed. I mean, we can both self-direct, of course we can, but to have a really good director who taps into us as well, it's a lovely connection loop, isn't it, between you and a great director?
Oh, absolutely. But it's also the fact that, I mean, if you're lucky enough to be in a room full of people, which is the cast, that's just a dream. Since COVID, it's not been as much, but it is starting to come back there because people are understanding that there is an energy that goes on in the room that you can't replicate. They're all individual choices that everyone's making, but it's all going towards the common cause, which is to tell that story, get that story out with as much humor and fun as possible and make it absolutely come alive. And it's as I say, I like to call it sort of going up to Mach 5 because it's heightened reality. It really is, but it's got to come from a place of truth and from your individual confidence. Your confidence and your enthusiasm and excitement with joining that character.
And it's nice to work in a room with other actors because, of course, you feed off them. And again, that might also give you a different way that you're going to deliver a line. You may have had an idea before. And as soon as they do that, I think, no, actually, I have to, because you're reacting to them. What people often don't realize with animation as well is that it's like audio drama, anything. You're reacting to other people just like you do in real life. And people just often don't quite get that the connection between the two.
That's right, and you're listening as much as you are offering stuff up, and it's that balance that it's so. There's a little bit of magic involved. I know I'm not going to go all twigs and figs, but there is a little bit of energy.
I have to tell anybody, twigs and figs is an expression that I use. So now Kate's just used that expression. Thank you, Kate, for bringing that out.
I've used it back at you, love.
Twigs and figs, it just means a bit airy fairy. Oh, unicorns, fairies, angel cards, So it's just my personal view. Other views are available. Keep it to yourself. No. But yes, the twigs and figs is my expression. Thanks. I love that expression. Thank you, Kate. Okay, we've mentioned Bob the Builder. We've mentioned Shaun the Sheep. I know you do loads of stuff, loads and loads of stuff. I mean, you were a thimble, for goodness sake. Not many people can say that. No. But what are you doing? I mean, anything you can talk about that you're doing at the moment? I know you played that great character, Agent Red, which was a wonderful part.
Yes.
And did you tell me you channeled my angry face for that?
No, I didn't, but okay.
It would fit. You had your own angry face.
that was a dream to play that, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
I loved it.
So no, I mean, what's out at the moment? Octonauts is out at the moment. For that was interesting, and I think that would be quite an interesting one to highlight the importance of being flexible in that. Octonauts, the Vegemals characters, the little Vegemals in there, they wanted to recast it because the person who did it didn't want to do it anymore, or had some other things wanted to do, so I might not be able to say that, actually. But anyway,
anyway, nobody's going to listen to this.
No. So yes, I was asked to voice match. So I was given a video. I absolutely did my best mimicry and was able to go from to, so it's very, very low to very, very high, and all the things in between. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. All the things in between. I'm so sorry. I just want to ask you a question. It's great to make your own voices and characters. We all occasionally have to voice match. How much does that kind of constrain you in what you'd love to have done, perhaps against what you had to do?
Well, yes, it is interesting, though with something like the Vegemals, who spoke Vegemalese, it was actually quite hard to dissect. I mean, I've got loads and reams and reams and reams of notes on and how do you write that? Whatever. So it was quite hard.
Yes.
Yes, and it's all gobbledygook, Vegemalese. That's quite hard. But a challenge, and I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed that. But you are still getting expression in the story. The wonderful Dave Peacock directing me with that, and some of that I recorded in my booth here. But I much prefer to go to Soho Square Studios, which is where they normally do it, and that's where everybody else was, which was kind of scary because they'd all been doing it for like, I don't know, 10 years or something. And here I rock up being the new Vegemals. But they were all so fantastic and accepting and just blooming amazing, talented people. And we just got on with it and told the story, which is wonderful. So that and dubbing, which I've found is restrictive like that, in that you can still have your expression because it's going to be infinitely you anyway, your individual thought process, but a voice match, because it's to time, I suppose.
Mm.
For then that's actually quite tricky. So it's not my favourite thing to do, but it's fantastic meat and potatoes work, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I do like it, but of course, creating your own characters from scratch literally is
That is the dream, isn't it? I was going to say,
it
going
is.
back to when you said walking into a room full of all the people who've been on the programme, and that could be very daunting. If it's daunting enough in a strange way for somebody like you, who's very experienced, has a great rep in the industry, of course, and they were embracing because they think, well, it's Kate Harbour, we're in a safe pair of hands with her. But can you imagine if you were an inexperienced voice who'd been thrown into that arena,
Yeah.
the atmosphere in the room would have been very different, I suspect.
Well, I don't actually know about that because I do think that the people generally that I get to work with are very nice.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, to be honest.
I didn't think they'd be unkind. I mean, I just think they would have been like a bit wary, a bit like, oh, we don't know this voice. And of course, if that voice actor didn't have the confidence,
Mm,
it would be it's quite difficult working with a new director, even if you're working just you and them. So to walk
mm,
into a room full of people, I think even for somebody experienced, you might be, that trepidation would be like, I know what I'm doing, but ooh, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I know what you mean. I just think it's it's a really tricky thing because I really do think that you just have to feel the fear and do it anyway
Yes,
and
you do.
go for it. There is nothing else that you can do except join in, get on board, be in the room, be open to ideas, listen, don't showboat. That's
Absolutely.
nothing worse than people doing that. It's only happened a few times. But
Yes.
but people generally tend to the ones that I tend to work with uh, quite regularly. Really, they're on various different shows and things. They've all got that about them, which is the open mind, generosity of spirit, and kindness, because ultimately it's not about you. It's
No.
about the work, and it's about the story, and it's about the characters, and it's about how we can serve the craft.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. It's nothing to do with the individual human. So when you you go into that room, yeah, you're trepidatory and you're nervous, but you have to just chuck that out the window. And the safety area, which is rather freeing, is the character itself.
Yes, yes, quite. I mean, I think it's just I love working as an ensemble. I think it's so great to have one person, two, but anybody to bounce off. And of
Absolutely,
course,
and that works with audio drama as
yeah,
well, which is what you do a lot of.
very much so. Yeah,
And that's fantastic because it's the same thing. It's the same idea. We're all serving the piece. We're all serving that, and so we need to be open to everything that's around us. But yes, I can imagine it would be quite daunting. But I think there are a lot of quite self-possessed, brave people out
yeah, I
there
think so. I think so.
ready to
Okay,
go.
so I want to change the subject here because obviously a lot of VOs want to get into animation.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask you is the first kind of point is auditioning for animation.
Yes.
Is there a lot of it out there? Do you get asked to audition a lot for animation, or do you just get the gig?
Oh, I get to audition a lot still, when there are auditions. We are I have to say, at the moment, definitely having a bit of a downturn. The
Mm.
whole industry has, certainly for animators as well. There's a bit of a hiatus. It's going to come back. It will. But this is the point. This is where we need to be upping our game and learning and practicing and, you know, getting as much in your toolbox as you can to be ready to go.
Yes,
Because it will be coming back, and it ebbs and flows, and there are different ways in which we are trying to reach audiences now. It's about them finding the audiences, and I think a lot of them are perhaps there's a whole new thing, which is streaming and YouTube and all sorts of things. And actually, we could see it as a bit of a nightmare, but we could also just go, okay, that's where the audience is. Let's go.
yeah,
Let's go and find
absolutely.
them, and let's be amongst it. And so, not to be frightened of that, I think, is
Yeah.
important.
Uh,
I think that linear is still here, and it will be to stay. But we've got to expand our
Yeah,
minds, and so
I agree.
I think by being flexible and open to all sorts of things is key, really.
Yeah.
I mean, an agent, yes,
That was
an
going to be my
agent's,
next question, actually. You
yeah.
know, how important do you think, particularly for animation gigs, is it to have an agent? How are you more likely if you've got an agent to get an animation gig?
Well, I don't know if it's as simple as that, really. In a way, it's because it's high. The competition is high. To
Yeah.
give yourself the extra edge, um, your agent is generally, you know, sent all of the auditions for things that's going on. They've got a relationship with studios, houses, and casting agents,
Mm.
and all of that. So they've got the connections um, ready to go that get you in the room. So of course it's important. But at the moment, I do think things are changing a lot. That some for the better, some for not. In that there's a lot more opportunity out there. Lots of things are being cast willy-nilly, shall we say, and out to tender. Um, and a lot of people are pitching in, and the market's opening up. Sometimes that's a really wonderful thing. Certainly with the call for diversity and inclusion, absolutely fantastic,
Hmm.
and rightly so.
Yeah.
But there's also, unfortunately, a little bit of not so good stuff that's being allowed to come through. I
Do you
don't
want
think
to
that's going to
elaborate on that?
last.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, I do think that you can tell when a product has been AI'd. Frankly,
Yes.
you can tell when because it's not an individual. I mean, AI doesn't have a soul, does it?
No, it
Yet.
can't feel.
So there's that. But I I think there's lots of change around everything to do with this, with creative arts and everything. But I do think that we just have to keep showing up, keep
Yeah.
turning up, keep being good, keep being flexible, ask the questions,
Mm.
but also be open to the suggestion of collaboration. And I think that's very important. Yes, certainly we have certain standards to uphold in terms of rates of pay and that sort of thing. But I think it's very important to be flexible and open when you're talking to animators, new animators, people that perhaps don't necessarily have the full budget because they're not able to get it commissioned. I mean, things are really quite tough for
Mm.
people out there, but the stuff is still being created, and you
Yes, I
have
think you
to
have
be
to.
a little bit open and flexible to, you know, you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor, a little bit like that. Um, but yes, having an agent, I think, is a good standard, and certainly being a member of Spotlight is very useful in terms of ease of somebody seeing your CV. You just put the Spotlight thing in there, and they can do the rest, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done Spotlight because obviously in the old days, Spotlight was just for actors for TV and theatre,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
not for voice actors at all. But I always thought IMD Pro is good because you do
yeah.
get obviously worldwide casting from that.
That's right. Yes.
But Yes, I recently joined another I've got two wonderful agents now, which is fantastic. And I had one wonderful one, now I've got two. And they've suggested I might want to do Spotlight. So that's on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you about, how to stand out in a world of competition. So one, obviously, having some voiceover training, particularly, and then character training, and technique. And I want to come to you about voiceover techniques in a minute. But and we'll talk about how they can get some extra training on animation with you when we're coming to the end of the podcast. So I want that to be something that people hear at the end, really. So remember it, you see. How do you stand out apart from just being good and having a great CV?
Be good, have a great CV. Be confident in your choice.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's all acting. The animation, it's all acting.
Yeah.
It is not. You can't just phone it in. I did see something recently where they actually put the argument up that you don't have to have an emotional connection with the character.
Yes, I'd like to
And
talk
unfortunately, this person delivered their piece, and well, you could hear it. They thought they were great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't believe a word of it.
Well, I actually think I know to whom you're referring, and I didn't see everything that you'd seen, but having seen what I had seen, when there was clearly no emotional connection whatsoever, anybody listening to this that thinks that's not true, that is the truth, as in you don't have to emotionally connect, you don't have to wear the shoes, so to speak, of the frog or whatever it is you're doing. I'm sorry, in my opinion, and I say it as I hear it and think it, it's utter rubbish. I'm not going to gloss it over. If you can't act, if you can't connect to a character, you are not an actor. You're not a voice actor. Everything, even if it's a 30-second commercial for selling beds, for those 30 seconds, you've got to believe you are the person selling the bed, so to speak. You've got to get inside that character and stay in it for the time you need it.
Your imagination is paramount, because if you can see it, and be it and think it, you are thinking the thoughts and offering it up truthfully, even though you might be adding a little bit of vocal tone or resonance or some sort of whether it's a low, medium or high resonance or whatever, you might be doing that. But if you can't see yourself in that moment, nobody else is going to, because you're not delivering it, you're reading it.
Yeah.
Confidence is absolutely audible as well. So it's not just about, I was definitely in the moment. You might have been, but you weren't confident enough. I didn't want to join you. I didn't want to join that moment with you, because people. It felt, orcs.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is, it's like, opera singers. If you look at Placido Domingo singing, right? He is being that part. He's romantic. You can see it in his eyes. You totally are drawn into him, despite the beautiful voice. With Pavarotti, for example, for me, fabulous voice, but he sang with his eyes closed most of the time. And when he did have them open, they were dead. It always used to bother me. I'd rather listen to him than watch him, because I didn't ever believe what he was doing. It was all about, I have got a great voice, which he did. I'm not saying Pavarotti didn't have a great voice. Of course he did. But you know what I mean? From an acting, Domingo can act, Pavarotti couldn't. And so, which is fine to be an opera singer. It's not so important, I guess, but it's that extra step for me. And it's the same with voice actors. If you're pretending, you can't, if you are playing the part of a father who's about to leave his daughter to go on a quest to get food because the zombies are invading, you've got to totally believe it. I can spot a fake acting voice. It's almost cringy, to be perfectly honest, because you're
Actually,
thinking,
it makes me
don't
laugh.
believe you. I don't believe you. What?
It does actually. It more often just makes me laugh, because I'm fascinated by that.
How do you do that? How do you actually have a really emotional part and it's like, I'm sorry, I've got to leave you now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, pretend.
But that's the thing as well, though, is when I know when I haven't connected properly.
Yeah, me
because
too.
I'm going, no, hang on, sorry, can I do that again, please? No, sorry. And then I do it again and I go, oh yeah. And so in the end, the director's like, oh yeah, I was actually going to get you to redo that anyway. I said, yeah, no, I know it was crap the first time. So it's not that I can do that all the time. No, it's just like because your mind wanders sometimes, or you drift off, or you haven't quite got the world in your head. When I say the world, I mean
The
the
world
world of the
yes, I
character.
understand. Yes.
Yeah. For people that don't, but I find the whole process extraordinary, and I think there's so much that goes on in your brain that you have to ignite, and you have to be with in order to deliver the correct nuance. I mean, you that's the other thing. You were talking about choices as well. You were talking about directors putting a choice on to you, but actually often when you are having to do an audition yourself, and these self tapes and things that you have to do nowadays, which more often than not you're doing them on your own. You're doing the alternate take, the alternate read. So you have to direct yourself. So you have to commit to how you're going to do it. And it might be completely off-piste.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the stereotype of what, and often we talk about trying to challenge your own stereotype of what you might think the character would be. That's sometimes how you would stand out, is the director will go, oh, blimey, I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah.
That's quite fun. I like that. Hey, let's do that again. And I tell you what, let's put a bit of a twist on it. And can you make it a bit more this? And can you age her up or age her down or whatever? And then that's the wonderful ballet, isn't it? The dance with it. But it's being exploring it first, and then sticking to it and going for it. Because if you don't, if you can't see it in your mind's eye, and you're feeling it physically, it's a bit like a non-focused performance on the stage. When someone's not focused, they haven't quite worked out where their eye line is and where their focus is on what they're thinking, and seeing their thoughts before they act.
What I always say to people when I'm teaching audio drama or any character work is, you've got to stay in your person. There's nothing worse than
I like that. Stay in your person.
You'll stay in your person. There's nothing worse than if you go to see something on stage and you've got somebody third spear bearer from the right who's fiddling with his elbow, or he's just looking into the distance and he's zoned out. Oh, it's my turn to do something now. And you get that with voice actors. It's like, oh, it's not my turn to speak, so I'm just going to zone out. I'll try and have a crafty look at my phone. Oh, is it my line? And when they do that they break through, and it's like
they break the wall, don't they?
They break the wall, and it's just not happening. And I say, even if you've got one line on your page and you're whatever, and it might be 2 words, you are ready. You are in the physicality. If you're, let's say your character's round and you're doing this, you stay like that, even though you might look crazy and your fingers are cramping until it's your line to say your bit. You don't just suddenly wander off and then, oh, blah, 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 it's not me now. Oh, it's me now. It's not all, as you said earlier, it's not just about you, it's about the ensemble.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you another question. Just been talking about this very important subject to me. As you know, I can breathe through my arse. How important for all that voice acting particularly is good breathing practice, Kate?
It's everything. So breathing is everything. And that comes down to, if you understand, mocap, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing them standing there. And they're not just standing there, are they? They are alive and breathing, and you can see the breath. Otherwise, if they're not breathing and they're just standing there, well, it's a hell of a lot more work for the animators to do anyway. But but often when I used to, I still do it, teach the Birmingham Conservatoire students. There would be some, and this was when I was doing it in person. I would look down at my script so that I wouldn't be seeing, and often I would hear something not quite right, not quite present, not quite in there, and sure enough, they've got their hands on their hips, or they are their hands in their pockets, even
folded their arms,
or folded arms, or whatever, and you can hear it. You can absolutely hear it. So it's along the same lines again as you don't have to be emotionally connected. That's BS.
You do. But if you're breathing, I mean, especially when you're doing characters perhaps in a higher range or a lower range where you've got to really breathe properly because they need to hear you. It's a workout, isn't it? It should be fairly tiring.
Well, it is. I mean, the thing is, often I am very wanting to encourage people to actually just breathe, funnily enough, because often they don't.
No.
And I'm talking about breathing, just being present before and after your line. So you're coming from outside, coming in, it's where you are. You might be running along the thing and and it's, you can hear the breath. But if you don't have any breath, right, and you're just coming in with the line, well, you can hear that. It's extra work, but it's extra work for the animators. But if you give them extra work that they enjoy, that they can get their teeth into, their armature into, then that's fantastic. So you're literally, I haven't said anything yet, but I've got to the microphone and here I am.
That you're moving,
ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's also, again, as I say, very freeing to allow yourself to breathe, because it's a different craft than just voiceover.
Oh yes.
But
and you can move into it. I mean, you can breathe into something. You can sigh. Even a sigh will slump you straight into a character that's feeling a bit sad. And people don't realise that they have to do all these little
breathwork is hugely important. We do dynamic pants with me. I have some dynamic pants, everybody.
And I've seen them.
Yes, I know. So I think it's hugely important. And in fact, I did see that somebody had decided to quit a drama school because they criticised the fact that they didn't do breathwork anymore, and they didn't do this and didn't do that. And I thought, well, yeah, good on you, because you do need it.
Yeah, it's so important.
Any which way you can to explore all of that with whichever tutor, teacher, whatever, breathwork, always up for new ideas and just freeing your breath.
And if you're not being taught breathwork by your coach or by in your whatever you do, then there's something not right. You've got to. You've got to. Got to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about a little bit more about the teaching side. Now, you teach at the Birmingham Conservatoire, and you teach them animation, acting, and some ADR, I think, as well. Do you do ADR in that? Or?
It's just acting for animation.
Acting for animation.
The same.
But then you went one step further, and you decided, I'm going to make my whole workshop, and you made this fantastic workshop. What's it actually called?
Acting for animation.
There you go. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. Acting for animation. You do this in person. You take along some lovely films, some beautiful sides. And for people who don't know what sides are, they are the pictures of the characters. Okay, you give them exercise. You teach them all that, and much more things. And I know it's great fun because I know how it would be. I know it would be great fun doing it. So tell us all about it, and when's the next one, and tell me all what's going on.
Okay, well, so what's going on? The next one's on the 3rd of May. At the sound company, the wonderful sound company where I did the Secret Show with them years ago, and in fact, Agent Red, Farmageddon. So it's split up into sort of 2 halves. So the first, the morning is set aside for physical expression and finding characters, different ways of finding characters and different vocal tones and resonances. So how one might do a little voice like that, and all sorts of different sort of the techniques, some of the technical bits and the suggestions and the offerings that each other has. Because it's been brilliant, actually. There's so many different wonderful characters coming through, and I've loved every single one of them. And some people find voices they never thought they had,
which is lovely, isn't it?
Oh, so brilliant, and it's really funny to meet all these new characters coming through. So we do a lot of that, and we do my dynamic pants at the beginning, and a few other bits, and We do a little bit of written work as well, just to sort of zone in on certain characters and all sorts of little nuggets like that. And then the second half is split up into two groups because I can only have 10 people at a time. So two groups of 5 in their casts. And we work on broadcast animation scripts, things like Messi Goes to Aikido, which is something I also did. And we also do, yes, there's a couple of different scripts we do. And then we work to picture. So very kindly, Aardman gave me they put it together for me, a reel of Farmageddon
That's
that I could
amazing.
work to, and we all get a chance to put our voices to picture, just throw it up, as it were, to the picture. And we do use time codes, but it's not a specific dubbing to time workshop. The marvelous Julianne Dean does that, so she's well one to perhaps have on your pod. She's great at that. And focuses a lot on that and a myriad of other things. But what we do is we have the idea of what it's like to look to a time code, look at the picture, get your character and offer it up. When you're not in the recording with me, you're out with your group, either rehearsing with the for the next bit, or you're practicing work to picture on some other things that I set you.
That's
so you're never, it's never a dull moment.
It sounds fantastic. I might have to come and have fun with you myself. I mean, the thing is, ADR work is a whole different ball game when you do it properly. Of course, it's made much more easier for the youngsters of today with this. Is it called a rhythmo or a ritmo band? I had a pole with a green flashing light and go when I was doing
That's
ADR,
right.
which was terrifying, utterly terrifying.
There's many ways of doing it now,
but easier now, but still, nevertheless, a real skill. And then anything after that, have you got lined up yet? Or
yes, I mean, I'd like to talk about something that I did recently that has actually just won an Annie Award.
Yes.
Not me personally, obviously, but the Kazazimoto Generation Fire. And the episode was Enkai, directed by Ngendo Muki. It's an African futurist animated anthology short film series. And on that, I was sent the sides, as you mentioned before. I was sent the wonderful, beautiful designs. I'm just awfully proud of it, obviously. I'm waving the flag about it. And this little character was called Awa, and it was a sort of bush baby type character. So yes, I did go and listen to a whole load of bush babies, because by doing the Octonauts stuff, they would send you the programs and the reels of actual animals and things that you had to sort of slightly replicate. So I'd definitely go there. It's a lot of research. So I researched and I listened to the sound, and we did sort of a bit of a back and forth. But when I went in there, just to illustrate this very point about the director and you're coming with your thoughts and your ideas and your sounds and your general demeanor, but you are given all that you need from the director if you listen with open ears. And she was fantastic. She had such a wonderful vision, and it's borne out by the fact that awards aren't everything, but I mean they're very nice when you when you get them. But it's an accolade that means that it was respected by her peers, by the industry itself, and it was just a wonderful vision. And if anyone's interested in that and the process of making that film itself, I would urge you to look at it. There's loads of stuff on LinkedIn about it.
We'll put a link up.
They did a behind the scenes. Yes, they did a wonderful behind the scenes, which was about all of the animators and the different animators that they had and the different jobs that they had on it. So the design and the backgrounds as well. And it was 2D and 3D. Some of it possibly stop motion as well in certain areas, possibly my character. I can't remember exactly what they said, but if you look at it, it's just a celebration of all things animation.
That's
And I'm
lovely.
so proud to have been part of that. And I'm not saying any words. I'm emoting. So that's why it's so important for people to think it and have it in their mind before they even open their mouths.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's where it lives, and then hopefully it translates and it's truthful, and off you go.
That's a great way to end this. Kate Harbour, thank you for talking to me. And you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you very much. And we'll make sure that we put in any of the blurb for this, we'll put links not only to the program we've just been talking about, but also to your workshop. And I would encourage, if you are interested in spending a day with Kate Harbour, it will be a day well spent.
Well, we do have a lot of fun. So come along.
Yeah, you will have a good laugh. So thank you, Kate. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Kate Harbour.